Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Paint Talks' podcast. I'm your host, Dionne Woods, and my guest today is Cherie Burbach. Hello, my beautiful hat friend.
Yes, we both like hats. I love that.
We do.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. That was the very first thing I fell in love with you about, was the fact that every time I saw you on a screen, you were wearing a hat also. And so I thought, okay, she's one of those brave girls that decides to walk out of the house and leave the hat on, as opposed to like leaving it in the car real fast, because you just can't do it.
Yep. I
Yeah.
know, doesn't everybody, I hear a lot that people think they don't look good in hats, but they like them. And I'm like, you just have to wear them. Like, I think it's a thing where people are maybe shy about hats, but no, everybody come and wear a hat. You don't need to be shy. I mean, they're good for bad hair days, which I get a lot.
Best. So funny that you just said that. When I was first starting out on doing like a Facebook Live, I used to do them every single day, Cherie. Every single day I would be on live, sweating through it, just stressing out, hoping I painted something that didn't make people unsubscribe from me. But I'm a ball cap girl, because I was at the bought the ballpark so much with my boys. And so once you put one on in the morning, you got to leave it on until you wash your hair. And if that follows into the next day or the next day, the hat just has to be worn. So I will never forget one person. She said, she commented and she goes, I have a quick question. I noticed a lot of you guys that do furniture art wear ball caps and hats. Is it like a thing? Is it like this tribe, and I'm like, girl, it's because we paint in the garage and we're sweating all the time and our hair is dirty. I'm just being honest with you. The hair is dirty and moppy. It is to cover up what's underneath it. It is not to like advertise the hat, or it's not a trend or anything like that.
Right.
It's just for self-preservation.
Same. I mean, I used to wear them all the time when I was doing art shows, because you're sweaty and it's gross. And I'd put my hair and I would just put a hat on because I'm giving up, and
Yes.
yeah, people would say, oh, are you wearing this because you're an artist? It's like, no, I'm just wearing it because my hair's a mess.
It really is to cover up hair. Cherie, tell everybody where you are and a little bit about what you do every day.
I am in Wisconsin. Yay.
Yay.
And so I'm a writer and artist. So during the day, I do a variety of painting or writing projects. They've always been two things I do always. So I write books, but I paint pictures and I create functional art, and I work with stores, and it's all the stuff that you do in an art business. And that's what I do now. So it's fun.
That's a lot, though. Here's the thing. You say, you write. So I'm sure you've had this question before. You do the art and you do the writing, and a lot of people will just pick one. So how do you feel like you've been able to really establish that crossover and not just do it, but do it really well?
Oh, thank you. Well, it's, when I was a little girl, I would do both. And it's just something I always did. I would paint or color, and I would do these little stories, and I always had words on the stories, and I was always writing, and they were always connected. And for 10 years, I was a full-time freelance writer, and I wrote for different places. And then when I was writing novels and trying to get them published, I had an agent say, well, you've got to pick one. You can't, because I had a newsletter that went out, and it had both of my art projects and writing projects in it. They're like, you have to pick one. You can't just, nobody's going to want to buy something for you if they think you're also an artist, if you're writing a book. And I'm like, why not? So for me, it was just like, I don't know how to do it unless I have it together, unless I'm just myself and doing it that way. So I've just kind of not listened to that advice and tried to just do my thing.
As you should. You found your own path, and you've got to go in that direction, especially when you know your purpose. So those of you that are watching this can see that she's got color all around her. Those of you that are just listening to this, her paintings are very bold. You use a lot of color, which of course I'm attracted to that as well. Have you always been very bold and graphic with your drawings, paintings?
I think, growing up, I had this really rough upbringing. And the funny thing is, art and creativity and all that helped me through all that. So when I was going through a lot of that kind of stuff, my art was a little bit different. It was darker. And suddenly, all that kind of gets removed from you. It gets released, right? You do the work, you heal. And as that started happening, the colors lightened up. It was more joyful. It was more just
Mm.
representing my faith. It was more stuff like that. So yeah, it started out more dark and maybe weird, and then it just got more lighter and more colorful. And now I can't imagine painting any other way. So yeah.
I love that idea that you were just kind of, rough childhood, so your colors were definitely more muted, if not darker. And then as the joy came back to you and to your heart, so did the colors came in full focus. So that's what a beautiful description for that. Did you go to school or college to do art or writing or anything like that?
No, I didn't go to college at all.
Yeah.
And I kind of regret that. Like, I wish I'd have gone, but then I think, well, how would things be different? I don't know. So maybe I'd be working more in the business world. I always felt out of place in the business world, like, fish out of water type of stuff,
Mhm.
where I would be there and something would happen in a meeting, and, everybody's, there's something would happen. It would be really funny. For example, we had like a boss who was just acting ridiculously. I remember him eating a salad, and the salad pieces are flying everywhere. And then he had taken his fork and he was like picking his teeth in the meeting. And then he took the fork and he combed his hair with it after that.
No.
And I am in this meeting in my 20s, just like cracking up. And I remember my boss going, "You've got to hold it together. There was nothing funny about that." And I'm like, "No, there really is, guys." Like, I just felt like I don't belong here. So,
I cannot imagine anyone picking their teeth with the fork and combing their hair while their salad pieces fly. I mean, I would also think a girl would have been right there next to you, good looking at you like, "Are we seeing what we're seeing right
right.
now?"
We would have been looking like, "Do you
Like,
see this?" Yeah.
I'm gonna wet my pants right now. Like, I can't stop.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, if I'd have gone college and all that, would my, career path have been different? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'm self taught on all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's how it
I'm
worked
right
out.
I'm right there with you, sister. I don't have any training, degree, background, anything. That's just that what do I love? Let's see what I can make from that and do more of that type of thing. So at what point though did you or were you able to decide to be a full-time creative business, like supporting what you're doing now?
Right. Well, I had a really terrible illness and I got sick and I needed to switch gears. I was working at a marketing job where I was working a ton of hours, and I started doing freelance writing, and I would get a couple gigs here and there. And I decided to really just go full time with that. And then the art at that time was kind of part time, it was just my hobby. And
Yeah.
then eventually freelance writing changed, the jobs I started getting changed. And I thought, well, I want to make art the full-time focus then, with
Mhm.
the writing as kind of like the support thing. I still wanted to write books and poetry and all the things I wrote, but I didn't want to do all these articles for everybody anymore. And I just wanted to do my art and somehow get the message out that way. And so I changed it, and I started little by little developing little income streams, and that's how it happened. So yeah, it's been about 15 or 20 years now where I've done that like full time. It's incredible, because I think, really, like, who'd ever thought that would be the case? I don't know, but yeah, that's how it kind of happened, out of necessity.
Congratulations. I also that's me too, out of necessity. Congratulations on that, 15 to 20 years. Let's talk about that progression though. So from the very beginning to where you are now, I mean, I have your latest book because you sent me a copy of it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, so full of joy and color, Cherie. So what have you learned about yourself during these 15 years of being a freelance writer and an artist?
I've learned, honestly, to trust my own instincts a little bit better, because in the beginning, I had this idea that everybody else must know more than I do
Yeah.
because they're being very, they have authority and they're giving you answers and all that kind of stuff. And their advice doesn't always fit with what you want to do. So in the beginning, I tried to jump around a lot and do what people like wanted me to do. Like for the writing, for example, I was really drawn to like relationship writing and things that were lifestyle content, and I would get offered like health articles or business articles, and I would do them because it's how I made money. But I didn't love doing that, and so I started, after it took about 5 years, and I was just trying to do that more and more, just relationship writing and stuff like that. And people would write me and we'd have these great conversations, these people I didn't know about relationships and friendships and life and faith and all these things I loved that really were just a part of everything else I did, all the art, all the
Mhm.
other writing that I did. So it just kind of developed into that. So I'm definitely different now because I would have never attempted certain things back
Mhm.
then, because I would have thought, well, I don't know who's going to do it, so I'm just not going to do it, or who's going to buy it, or who's going to be interested, so I'm just not going to
Sure.
do it. And
Sure.
so now I'm just like, well, I'll just do it because I feel that it's cool, and if it works out, it does, and if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Trusting your instincts and your process is a lifelong journey for so many people, Cherie,
It
right?
is.
It's a lifelong journey for so many. So to be able to find that on your way, I mean, another 15 and 20 years, who knows, right? Who knows what will develop within you and within your work. So let me ask you a question. When you think of the word success, what do you think that is for you?
That's a hard question, right?
I
I
hear
mean,
your puppies. I hear your puppies, but they don't bother me. So let's just keep talking, okay?
okay, okay, I'm sorry. They're in another room,
I,
but they're just so rambunctious.
I don't
They're,
mind,
they're 8 months old. Um, so
baby.
yeah, what when I think of success, it's funny because I have two schools of thought. Like I look at other artists and I think, oh, that would be so cool to have that type of career where I've got that type of jobs that I'm doing and that type of opportunities. But then the other part of me, which is the part I shouldn't listen to, it's the part where, oh, I should be doing this though, like the should. Like I
That
go back,
is
like, yeah, the business world. Oh, I should really have this type of setup, or I should. And those are two ideas of success. Like, I think a lot of people, I just think about, they say to me about all the different books I've written and go, oh, I wish I would have written something like that. So they think that's really successful that you've done that. But then, I'm working so hard to promote it and I'm doing all this stuff. And I would, there's a part of me that's like, but I wish this stuff would sell more. I wish this was bigger, that type of stuff. And then I have to step back and go, but when 15 years ago, this is the career I wish I could have had, and I'm just looking ahead like I wish it was bigger. And I'm still basing that on this idea that maybe developed in the corporate world that doesn't belong in the artistic world, maybe. I don't know. So success to me is just, I guess, living out whatever your desire, these creative desires that you have, and they're in there from a long time, and we all have them and we know them. And like, I guess it's just listening to that. That's what the real success should be. And then pushing away that idea of like what success should look like. It always has to be personal, I feel like.
has to be, you're right. It's different for
Yeah.
everybody. You know, I had one lady tell me once that for right now, because it was hard for her to imagine what success felt like or looked like for her or anybody, she was like, for right now, we're just happy to be able to buy like the expensive toilet paper. Like, and then I laughed and I was like, girl, I got white fluffy towels recently,
Yeah.
like the
Oh,
thick kind that they have at nice hotels. And I'm like, now this is life right
yeah.
here. Like just those little things that you use every day that are like, um, looking at the bottom row of the toilet paper line, you know what I mean? Or the cheapest, the thin, like there's just little things like that's something that's so simple and superficial, but it's still like the way of self-care. You know what I mean? Like I got a towel that's like a blanket, you know what I mean?
Right.
So That's a different avenue too, but it does look different for every single person. So thanks for sharing that with me too. Who has had the biggest impact on you because you've met and worked with so many different people over this, right? Over
Yeah.
these years. So do you feel like there's one particular person, whether it be from your childhood, a family member, or someone that you've met along the way that's really just had an impact on you?
Oh, well, it would probably be, and this would be funny to her, but it would probably be my grandma,
Aw.
who did not, she knew that I had writing and art back in the day. Like she knew that's who I was, but we together as people had different interests, we had different personalities, but I learned this idea of like hard work from her. She was
Mhm.
a farm girl, and she really, oh, she just impacted me because she loved on people. She would cook for people and she loved to clean. And when she cleaned, like I still remember this, she would like, if she cleaned a toilet, she'd be like, look at that toilet. That is great. You know, she took pride in everything she did. And I still like, she would love that I'm doing this because I'm working hard at it and really putting my all into it. Like she would love that. So it's probably her. But she also she also influenced my kids' book, which to me is so funny because it was this funny family story. And then I talked about it for years and I would say, oh, this would make a good kids' book one day. And then eventually I was like, well, why don't I do it? I'm like talking about it for all these years. And she would find that hilarious that I had done that and, you know, created something from a story with that affected her. It was about a mouse in her house. I mean, it was funny.
Oh, so cute.
But she was really that type of person. She was, you know, she didn't care what you did, but she just wanted you to put your all into it. So I think she would be thrilled that I'm doing that. But yeah, it's her. I think she'd be very surprised to find out that it's her somewhere she knows, right? That's what I
She
feel like.
she knows for sure. That's so sweet. My grandmother is who I named my business after. Her name was
Oh,
Iris.
I love that. I didn't know that.
Iris is her middle name, and so she went by Grandma Iris. My mother's name, my mother's middle name is Iris also. And since they were so strong, like I thought, I don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to do this, but here I am trying to do this. So I thought, what will be a daily reminder that I can do hard things? So I just named my business after them. So it's not the flower or the eye or anything. It's them.
I
Uh,
love that. Oh, that makes, oh, I just love that story. Yes.
so I, 15 years ago, you're like, well, what do you call something? And Iris, I thought she was so good at reminding people that happiness was a choice because of all the hardships she's gone through. And I just thought, well, this will be a reminder that I can do this because if she went through what she can go through, surely I can show up online or I can post pictures or I can surely I can do these things that don't actually hurt me.
Yeah.
They're just hard and
Yeah.
scary, but surely I can do some of these other things if Iris, right? If they go through the things they did. So anyway, I feel
Yeah,
that with my grandmother.
they had such different challenges in their lives. Like my grandma grew up on a farm in northern Wisconsin, and I remember her saying to me once, like we had a cottage in Wisconsin and we had an outhouse, and I'm a little girl, and so I'm freaked out going to the outhouse because it's
Yeah.
dark and I don't know what's in the outhouse. It's creepy. And she said, and she had an Eastern European accent, and I remember her saying, like, you can see you can see the house from there. There's no reason. Like, in other words, wherever she used to go, you couldn't see the house anymore. Like, it was so far in the distance, you know, that she
Yeah.
would have to go and do her. But you could still see the house from our outhouse. So that to me, that to her was like a comfort. And I remember thinking, how did you grow up? Like being a little girl, like, you know, it
Yeah.
was, yeah,
And
different.
then the other side of that is if people can see me out here, if I can see them, they can see me. And I'm so vulnerable out here in my doing my business.
I know. I can still remember going in there and just being like nervous, you know, like I don't know if I could even do my business. It's so scary in here.
Oh, I completely get that as well. Um, I would love to ask if there's a particular trait about yourself that you are the most proud of sharing. Is that
Oh,
something you can share?
um, hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, okay. I guess if I'm going to say that it's probably it like my grandma, I like to bake or cook for people. If they're sick, I like to make up a batch of soup and bring it to them. And, maybe that's the thing I'm proud of most.
So that you're thoughtful and caring and want to take care of people?
That I like being a caregiver. Yeah. I like to make sure they're okay and feeling okay. Yeah.
Yes. That's so sweet. Yes, I love that. That's probably, I think, like for me, I would pick flowers and bring them flowers, but I don't know if I'd bake them anything, girl. They'd probably not want me to. What about other people? So what traits do you admire most in other creative women?
Oh, I love the ability to just to really embrace whoever they are. Like as artists, this, we know so many different personalities and so many different types of art. And sometimes people can be like, oh, I should be doing that type of art, or I should be dressing this way, or whatever it is, or should be getting into this type of income stream. And I really admire people that are like, they just do their own thing. It doesn't matter. They just are themselves. And they are the ones that really inspire me because I think, yeah, they're not following a trend or trying to be like somebody else. They're just doing their own thing because, gosh, I feel like we're all so individual. We do similar things, but we do them all differently. And there's so many opportunities for artists now that when somebody is just doing their own thing and doing this, like one weird thing, like if there was an artistic version of this, like do you remember comedians in cars getting coffee, like that show with Jerry Seinfeld? He would take comedians in a car and get coffee and they would talk. And it was really interesting to me because I thought that's the kind of art that everybody should do, their own thing. It wasn't a talk show. He was just doing his own thing. And
I
that's how
love
I think it should be with art. Like you should just figure out your own way to do something
Yeah.
and
You know
yeah.
what? I was talking recently, and a lot of this comes to do with the magazine. Because social media is so prevalent, like anywhere you look, you can find a screen and you can watch somebody else do their thing. So imitation is so much easier because it's right in front of us to where imitation happens where we don't even realize it's happening, but we just consume data and consume so much so quickly that we forget that we have our own point of view sometimes. We
Right.
forget that we have our own unique ability because it overlaps with so many other things. And so when you can find somebody really understanding what they're the best at, and it might not make sense, and they don't have to explain it to anybody. Oh, that just gives me fire. And like, Jerry Seinfeld doing his thing. I mean, whether that was his idea or not, um, regardless, he had a point of view, and that was his point of view of sharing it. And so I love that type of thing too. And I love the magazine with the Turquoise Iris Journal because it creates a space where somebody can give their point of view. So we had the honor of featuring you in our summer volume of the Turquoise Iris Journal. And thank you for that. Thank you for letting our readers in your little secret space and all of your words and your wisdom. It was very special. And I hope that that was a good experience for you as well. I would
It
assume, yes.
a great experience. I loved it. And the magazine, I'm telling you, is so beautiful. The pages are so beautiful. You could just sit there. I mean, it really puts you in a state of mind and it's inspiring and the layouts are so beautiful and then people's words are so beautiful. I loved it. I thought it was a great experience and so I'm
Thank
grateful to you for having me in there.
you. Oh, I love that. I love getting that kind of feedback. Um, Tell me what your favorite thing about your own creative space is. So, in your studio or wherever it is you work, some people work on the dining room table, and I used to work on the island in the kitchen while dinner was being cooked. So, and homework was being done. Like, I get that. But for you, what's your favorite part or element or aspect of your creative space, Cherie?
I love, for years I worked on the kitchen table
Yeah.
and I have this teeny tiny room. And for a while I shared studio space with other artists and I ended up falling and injuring myself. So I kind of left that studio space and I'm back in this tiny little room. And I'm grateful for it because it's my tiny little room. It's just all art stuff. It's, you know, I can shut the door. It's just like my peaceful little space. Like as I'm filming this, I have paint everywhere in front of me. And, you know, I feel comfortable in here. And that's what I love about it. It's like, you can create anywhere. That's true. But I just love having a little, even if it's just a little table and it's yours. And I love that. So I have a little table. I have a lot of
Yeah.
carts that I roll around because it's a very small space. And I love that. It's just mine and I can go and shut the world away and just do my thing and hang out.
It's your own little playroom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's your playroom. My studio is also pretty small, but I don't know about you, but I have feel like runneth over into all the other rooms, including this one. As we film, I'm in my bedroom because I'm like, well, this office is messy and the studio's cluttered. So let's just go in here and sit on this couch.
Exactly. Yeah. I do that and I love going outside. We have this backyard and it's a really small backyard and I don't care because I have this little, you know, chair out there and that makes me happy to sit with the trees and listen to the birds. Like I go
Yeah.
out with my sketchbook and the beach. We're not too far from the beach in Lake Michigan and
Oh,
I
nice.
love going there and just, oh, it just feels so good. Yeah.
I love being outside in nature too. It's a little hot right now, but boy, when it starts to cool down, um, last night there was like this little breeze, and you could feel like, okay, I don't mind fall, but I cannot stand winter. But just the idea of like being back outside in the evenings where it's not scorching and you can breathe just kind of gives you this whole layer of energy. Like, okay, whew, I'm refreshed. And so I'm going to have a little bit more of a pep in my step
Right.
tomorrow. You can just feel it coming.
Yeah.
When you are, let's just say you've been in maybe a creative rut or like you're kind of stuck on something. Do you have like a no fail go to thing that you do or thing you make or a person you talk to that helps kind of get you over that hump?
You know what's funny is I get asked that question a lot, and I know I don't get in creative ruts because I don't know what I think the best way is just if you're feeling maybe you're not feeling it. Maybe it's kind of like I know I have to do something. I have a project coming up. I guess the best way is just to just play. And since I like doing that anyway, it does spur you into something else. So I don't really ever feel like, oh, I don't know what to do. Or I always feel like I have so many ideas. I need to focus and get one thing done and work on the next. But yeah, I think playing and just creating for the sake of the enjoyment of it. So you're not creating to sell a painting or something like that. That's what really will get you out of it, I think.
Great advice. It is such great advice just to play without the expectation of, well, you know what working artists do. We start something and halfway through we're like, this is never going to sell. And then you have to learn like, whoa, girl, like calm down. You've got a long ways to go. You've got to keep going and trusting that process. And, our fall volume that's coming out is trust the process. So our creatives and artists are talking a lot about those that do get stuck. What's their go-to method or what do they do? And playing, that's my number one advice too. Play in the paint. I just finished finger painting in one of my membership groups. My nails are stained from the DIY paint because the pigment is so intense. And it's all natural though, it's clay. So
Yeah.
I use that when I finger paint. It's no acrylic or anything in it. But I don't think I played very much when I was a kid. Did you play very much when you were a kid?
I don't know if I played because you know what? Creativity, it was always about, I was always feeling, in this rough environment I was in, I was always trying to work out some of these terrible things that were happening to me. So I felt like,
Oh,
my creativity was like coloring and coloring hard where I'm putting my body into it, like that type of thing. And it was all
okay.
about that kind of stuff. Like I think I had to learn how to play as an adult. And I think that's why I love painting big pictures. And I know you do too, where because your body's into it and it's just a different experience than when you're working really small and contained. It's freedom and it feels better. And I think you
That's
can see it when somebody who likes to paint big like you do or like I do, we try and go small. I think you can see it, like it's a different process. It really is.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't. I'm like, somebody just put me in a box. I can't do this. Just let me throw my body. Earlier I literally had my fingers in paint and threw it like it was a fastball coming at the canvas. I was like, now this, like I love that. Just got to get that out. Okay, so I hope this is a fun question. Um, if you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self or 25, you can pick the year, but a self that's many years ago, what would be some advice or what would you tell her if you could talk to her?
Wow. Yeah. I would tell her all the things like that I wish somebody told me back then. Like, you are valuable and you are loved, and
Mhm.
all these things that you're putting on yourself, that's other people's uh burdens, like all these negative things that I would think about myself. And I would just try and get this girl to wake up to the fact that she has this individual path, and it isn't these other people who are hurting you or who are doing this. You know what? Then you let God take over and deal with them, and you just focus on your own thing and move forward. Because boy, if I wish I could go back. I mean, I think about the things I thought about back then, and I think, oh honey, let me take you aside and really really let you know just how the realness of what you need to hear, because you're just in this headspace that is really bad. So I mean, that is a good question. I don't know if it's a fun one though, Dionne, but it is good. It's because, yeah, it helps you
Well,
realize how far you've come,
well, but I also say fun. I say fun because of this. I did not have much fun. And so it would be fun for me to embrace that woman, young girl. Let's say I was at age 20 and then just love her, like you said, and remind her that she deserves to have fun and that she should have fun and that she's going to get to where she wants to go a lot faster if she just would have some fun. Just relax and let life happen rather than trying to control every single thing that happens, and just relax a little bit, because that was my own issue. So when I think, I would try to infuse a little bit of fun into that girl.
Yeah, because I felt like my value was always tied to like what job I had or what I did or whatever, instead of like who I was. Who I was never good enough. And it's still a hard thing to, realize that, to think of that. But back then, oh, I if I would see her today, I would just want to hug her and go, let's talk. Like, let's go and play. Let's paint a big canvas together and let's have a conversation, because you need to get this out of your head.
Yes, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. In that same kind of mindset, if you could choose anyone in the world, past or present, to go have lunch with tomorrow, who would you choose to go have lunch with tomorrow? Past or present? Living or
Okay.
past, I should say.
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question. Oh my gosh. Just one? I mean, like, you
Okay,
can't even have a table.
oh yeah, pick a table. Table of 4, table of 8, whatever you want, Cherie. You get it
Okay,
all.
okay, okay. It would first of all be King David, because I find him fascinating with the Psalms and his life story. Like, I would sit with him. I would sit with Mary Oliver, who I met once, but I didn't get to hang out and have a meal with. I would want to hang out and
Wow.
have a meal with her. Maya Angelou, for same reason, the two poets. I would love to do that. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. Yeah. I don't know. There would be probably, that's my table of 4 right there. And me. How about that?
Table of 4. What a great group. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's so special. So something totally and completely fun and off the wall. If Cherie chooses dinner tonight, she can have anything she wants. What are we eating? What are you saying we're eating tonight? Are we going out? Are we cooking? Are you cooking? And what are we eating?
I'm probably cooking, and I'm cooking something that Okay, my favorite meal is cream corn and sausages. I used to used to have this as a kid,
Okay.
and when I met my husband, he was like, "Oh, like that's." He still thinks it's a little gross, but he will make it for me, you know, because like on my birthday or something, because I love that meal.
That's so sweet. Cream corn and sausage. You
Yeah.
know what? I'm I've never seen Matt eat that, but I feel like that would be his jam secret. And I'm not gonna tell him because I don't eat meat and I don't like cream corn. That is so gross.
That's what my husband says. Yeah, he's not into the cream corn, but it's good. It's really
Well,
good.
it's really good. I'll take your word for it. Okay, so would we be eating dessert? And if so, what would be our dessert?
Oh, well, I think we would have to eat dessert. Okay, my grandma has this is a cake I make a couple times a year. It's like a science project. I have never seen this cake even printed anywhere. I'm lucky that I have a recipe from her because she had it all in her head and didn't write anything down. So we have
Cool.
this like cobbled together recipe, but it's a cherry cake and you actually use maraschino cherries, which sound gross. However, it's really delicious. It's like a light mousse and it's so light and airy and you put gelatin in it. And so it's like a science project. You have to get the timing of it has to be just right. Like I'm sweating it every time I make it, just like and I'm a seasoned cook and I still feel like I'm on pins and needles every time I make this thing. But when it comes off, it's just the best thing ever. So that would be our dessert.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So after we eat and we have dessert together, what will we be watching? Will we go watch something on TV? Will we watch a movie? What would be your favorite choice?
Oh, I think we would have to watch the Great British Baking Challenge because
Okay.
that would be the best. But then we also would have to watch, I like to watch that and then like true crime. So we'd have to do both.
I keep running into you ladies that love true crime. I mean, I get told that 50% of the time, true crime it is. And I'm like, I have not sat one time and ever watched anything like that.
You'd be sucked in. I'm telling
I'm
you.
sure. I'm sure because if 50% of you are loving it, that's no doubt. Okay, so that would be a really good night, a really good evening spent with you. Thank you for sharing that. Those are the important things. What are we eating, right?
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Tell everybody listening where we can find you, where they can work with you, and see your work.
Okay. Probably the best place is my website. So it's cherieburbach.com.
Okay.
Um, Also, any of my social media pages, same name, cherieburbach.com is Cherie with a C. And I have a contact form on there for people that want to work with me, but I'm in different art centers in Wisconsin. I'm in the, Anderson Art Center and the Kohler Art Center and all different art centers in Wisconsin and different shops. And I sell a bunch of different things, and you might see me at craft fairs and stuff like that. And that's all at my website. You can
And
connect me
on
that.
you, you're on YouTube as well.
And I'm in YouTube.
Yeah.
Same, yeah. YouTube, yeah, and I think I'm on TikTok. I don't
Oh,
know how
girl, look at you on the TikToks.
I don't know how active. I mean, I put videos on TikTok. You never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? There's an audience for everything. So I actually have one of your books, which has reminded me. I'm going to go in there and take a photograph with it here in just a minute. But you have been so kind when I've had events come up or birthdays, and I get these random things in the mail from you. And it's just touched my heart that you are continually so thoughtful. We haven't met in person. We've only met over the last year working together on some things. And I just want to say thank you, like for even thinking of me, taking the time to do so. I have a heart that you sewed for me that says 2024, and it's on my vanity where I put my makeup on every day, and it's
Oh,
hanging on a photograph of my boys. So it's there with me every single morning next to my devotional and my journal and my makeup, which is just as important as my devotional. Uh,
I love that. That is so great to hear. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I like to just I'd like to just bless people and let them know they're being seen and thought of and cared about. So that is really sweet that you told me that. That makes my day. Thank you for
I'll
telling me.
send you a picture of it sitting in here. Listen, I want to thank you. Everybody, also scroll down to the description here in the show notes because you can see her clickable links. Will take you directly to her website and her social medias, and follow her, follow along, and maybe order one of her books because you will not be disappointed. Cherie, thanks for joining me, sweetheart. This was so good to hear a little bit more of your story and let our readers and listeners get to know you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Everybody, we'll be back for another episode of Paint Talks' podcast.